Welcome back, everybody. This is the Refresh Point. My name is Ben, and as always, I'm joined by World's qualifying second runner-up at BCS Houston, my GOAT, my constant co-host, Steve. How's it going?
You know, pretty great. It's gonna be hard to it's gonna be hard to spoil my week. I'll put it to you like that.
Yes, we're back. Steve is the second runner-up, third place, in layman's terms, player of BCS Houston. He's got a world's qualification. He's going to Japan. And I shit the bed. We're not gonna talk about my run that much because it's just I went on stream round 1. You can go watch that, and realistically, that's just how it felt for the rest of the day. And we're here to talk about a winner. Today I'll be interviewing Steve for some insight on how he felt about his run and the sum total of his plays so far. We'll catch up a little bit on the news that we missed. It's been a while. We haven't sat in this couch in a hot second. And finally, we'll take a moment of silence from my wallet because we'll take a look at some of the Guilty Gear spoilers. And May's not even out yet. So shuffle your decks, tap or cut, and we'll get right into the refresh point with some breaking news.
Yeah.
Ari Ferretta is coming out. Riaz is about to terrorize the other two regionals with it.
Yeah, so
Two Souls are back on the menu as if they ever left.
there are several people who I greatly respect in the Weiss community who are looking forward to this set. And I don't know how I feel about it just yet. I'm skeptical. There are many parts of this package that I don't like, but we'll let the results speak for themselves. People who are better than me at this game absolutely are dying to play it. So we'll see. We will see. It will be interesting to take a look at. We're going to confine most of the BCS results to the Spike Corner today because, by the gods, I think we missed Sydney, Someren, or did we talk about Netherlands in the last episode? I don't think so.
Yeah, so Sydney, Someren, Richmond, Bilbao, Kaiserslautern, and Houston all happened in between our last discussion and now.
Yeah,
which is a lot more tops than in between the last few episodes.
Yeah, we'll have to speed run that, but suffice it to say, some of it is very interesting. A lot of it is exactly what we thought it would be.
Yeah, it just makes perfect sense.
Correct.
As you were listening to this, the ban list has dropped. Oh my god. Obviously, we don't know what it is, but yo, Steve, this ban list, I'm so excited to deck build. I'm glad that Slime has finally been just kicked off its high horse. We can all stop complaining. I can deck build it a bit, have some fun. Alice got hit, and power levels across the board are kind of more limited to standbys, so that, there's not so much of just overwhelming 1k 1 soul power just jammed down the throat, speeding up your game. I'm really excited for this, Steve.
Yeah, I think this ban list is timed really well. We're gonna get some updates that we badly need, and we've been
for everybody except for those playing in Australia.
Yeah, and we've been kind of talking about it for a while now, about the way the meta is and how dicey it is. So hopefully, the good folks at Bushiroad are cooking up the solution to widen the meta a little bit, make things a little more accessible for some sets that badly just need a little bit more room to operate in order to be, viable. I think also what's good about the timing of this is we're gonna get a couple region. It's not mid-year, but it's like end of the year. But there's still a few regionals left.
And one of the big ones, really big ones, California,
Yes.
will be the capstone of the year, of the end of the kind of regional post-ban list play era. And it's gonna be crazy. I know for sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna get a real nice meta check from Duluth and from Los Angeles, because Ari
Anaheim. It is specifically away.
Excuse me, Anaheim.
Yeah.
Ari Ferretta is gonna be legal.
Yeah.
And the ban list will be legal.
Uh-huh.
So the only thing we won't know about
is Guilty Gear.
Yes. We won't know what Guilty Gear is going to do to the meta. We might have an idea, though.
I'm gonna be real though. If they don't print like any stock charging mechanic whatsoever that's like even slightly real, that set becomes much more reasonable.
Yeah, I think we've got like, I don't know, like 90 cards to go or something.
Yeah. So there's a lot to go. To be fair, there's a lot to go.
Yeah, and I think
like,
we've only seen 3 or 4 double R's. So a lot of the deck defining cards have not been revealed yet. We can talk about this in the Spike Corner, obviously, but
we're gonna talk about this later day in a whale sighting.
In a whale sighting, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my short response to it is so far is like there's definitely some things to like.
There is.
So.
And we'll do a quick comment box here. Checking the mail. We are doing this nearly every episode, so now we don't have to catch up like every comment that ever existed and just like all the ones on the previous episode. So that works out.
Yeah.
Dark, one of my teammates, he listens on Spotify, but he came to the YouTube just to post a comment because he's not used to the term block. Apparently, the Californians don't block. They cancel damage.
Oh, okay. Well, I equally am stunned every time I hear any Weiss player use the word comeback.
Oh yeah, come back
to describe the door
yeah.
mechanic. There's like 5 people in all of the United States that say it that way. Yeah, I sympathize. Unfortunately, I come from a variety of card games, and block is just like, I mean, I don't know. You block all kinds of things in other games.
Yeah,
I apologize for not using the word cancel, but unlike Ainz, I'm not gonna fix it. I'm committed to the word block. I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to cringe.
Shout out to Bree, who commented that they just listen to. They've binged like most episodes at least twice, apparently. And I confirmed this because this week I've just it's problematic. I just want to play Weiss every moment that I'm not playing Weiss.
Yeah, I mean,
sitting here right now next to you, Steve, there's in the back of my head, there's a small thought of, man, I could be playing Weiss right now.
Yeah.
Somehow.
We're obsessed. We're in the thick of it.
And so in the midst of that, after locals on I believe Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I hopped on the Discord and I was like, anybody want to play? Bree, I didn't recognize the username at the time, but at the end, I told him about the ban list, and he was like, yo, I didn't realize. And I was like, yeah, it's coming out. It's going to be hype. You know, you can, if you want to, you can listen about it on a podcast. He was like, yo, I think your voice sounds familiar. So shout out to you, Bree. You're going to listen to this maybe again. It was good to play you. It's real tragic that you pulled a Steve and you played triple cost me and couldn't draw a single door, not even to climax swap with.
It do be like that at times. I know that our listener base is very modest, but it seems very committed. And I would rather it that way than the other way around. So,
shout out to, according to the statistics, the approximately 50 of you, 100 of you. There's like 30 to 40 of you on Spotify, 40 to 60 of you on YouTube, and like probably like 5 or 10 people somewhere else. Shout out to all of you that are actually listening.
Yeah, we get all kinds of great metrics that Ben loves to share with me, and some of them are better than others. And my favorite YouTube metric to hate is the rapid off-clicking, the duration. You know, you get that nice thick bar of people who are leaving after 30 seconds.
Yeah, we can. Hey, I got it pulled up right here. We can look at it. Like, yeah. Hold up.
Yeah, it's.
Let's see the Clinton episode. Last episode overview.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah, we get a nice big spike of people who watch the video for about
a whole 1 minute.
Yeah.
1 minute and 40 seconds before they click off.
Yeah.
So shout out to the other 40% of you, about 40% of you on YouTube and others that stick around for at least half the episode. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Obviously, neither of us are going to become millionaires from making Weiss content, but we do appreciate everybody who watches the entire episode. And if you're watching it twice, I mean, you're probably passing us in terms of viewership. So.
We have the conversation, we listen back to it once, and then we're done with it. We go on to the next one.
Sometimes I re-listen to the stuff on YouTube every once in a while.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Like I re-listened to the Clinton episode because I wanted to remember some of the infinite wisdom that he had shared with us. But it does look like my ban list predictions are going to be much more accurate than his were. So who knows?
Yeah. Special shout out to Chainfire. We met you at Houston. You were judging the event. It was very cool to talk to you. Your standard list that you showed me there, that's nightmarish. Hate that.
I don't think I've played one game of standard Weiss, and that deck convinced me that I never should.
Commenting on your actual response, you did think that it would be interesting for Overlord to get hit with the JP ban, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
It's the same cards, but I don't know. I'm kind of the opinion now that we should probably never mirror the JP ban list unless it makes a lot of sense.
Like IMA.
Because like
that's pretty much
the metas are highly divergent at this point. I mean, Japan has got way more cards than we do. So, and a lot of the cards are just dramatically different. We have a lot of English exclusives they don't have.
They got this old Puzzle and Dragon thing that's like
they have and Uma and like a lot of different stuff that and like 3 times the Bang Dream and twice the Love Live. So
it's crazy. Dude.
Yeah. So it's a completely different meta. I don't think it's appropriate to just copy and paste the responses. And luckily, I think Bushiroad's done a very good job of not doing that.
Yeah. And shout out to you as well for part of the title of this episode, The Dark Horse of Darkness, which we'll talk about, a little bit down the way. Right now, after I get my notes here, we're going to hop into Position 0, Center Stage. It's a more, it's a highlight segment, You've taken Center Stage, Steve, and today we're gonna run a little bit more of like an interview segment after you've successfully qualified for Worlds.
Yeah.
Shout out to the review fans that got that reference. So, Steve, here you are. You've been playing now for ever. It's been 10 years?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, it's been just about 10 years of Weiss gameplay. And I believe this is your first Worlds qualification?
It is.
All right. And so previously, I believe on the podcast and in conversation, we've talked that we've discussed that sometimes before today, you felt a little bit kind of like behind the curve in the sense of like, there's a lot of us in Dallas that play literally every single day and you just can't. And it's kind of gotten to you sometimes. How do you feel about where you stand after being able to make the run and like really just have that?
I would be lying if I said it didn't feel like cathartic in a way. I have been playing as long as there's been English and even before English. And most of that time, you know, there was like a chunk of COVID that I kind of didn't play at all. But most of that time, I have been playing grinding, not screwing around, not just playing, not YOLOing games for the hell of it, just focused on competitive play, focused on doing well. And I had quite a bit of success when the game was new, but the longer you go without success, you start to wonder whether it'll ever come. Because I made Continentals in 2015 and did pretty well, got top 4. But that was 8 years ago. The game has changed so much since then, and the player base has probably quadrupled in size. So, you know, continually you'll feel as though you're falling because the player base is more sophisticated, the player base is comprised more of better players, and, you know, your results, you try not to focus on the results and you try to focus on the play, but it's a specter that's kind of hard to ignore after a while. And so I think part of it is, yeah, you wish you could play more, but you also have to realize that, like, in 8 years, like, my life has become a lot different. So yeah, I would say that it affected me for sure. And so to be able to make this, to be able to make Worlds feels very, very satisfying, and it would be wrong for me to say anything else, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm very happy with it.
And now that you're here, you are preparing, I believe, right?
Yeah. So I don't want to, you know, success is one of those things that's fleeting no matter how hard you're trying. Everybody's trying hard. So you shouldn't waste any opportunities that you have. So yeah, we're going to try as hard as we can.
Competitively in L5R for a pretty long period of time. Also about a decade, I believe.
Yeah. So I started playing competitive L5R when I was like 19 or so. And
you basically, in L5R, you were me. Like, in the sense of, like, right out that time period.
Yeah.
Competitive card game.
Yeah. And initially I was also not very good at that either.
Yeah.
So it was the same situation where I had played for a while. I wasn't really doing that well, but I think the same thing happened in both games where something that I liked to play became good in the meta. And not just that, but I started to become surrounded by other like-minded players that were interested in doing well, players that were interested in improving regardless. Results weren't even the goal. It was just about getting good. And I surrounded myself with people of that mentality. And I got better because we were all focused on the same goal and pushing. And I feel that way now about our Weiss group here. Is there's a lot of us that are like-minded, that are trying to be the best we can be, and we're all pushing in the same direction. And I believe that it is much, much harder to see your own mistakes without somebody else there to shove you forward and be like, listen, you have to play as good as you can or I will beat you because I'm playing as good as I can. And so I think that without that competitive, it's not adversarial, it's more like rivalry. You know, we all want to be the guy. And so we're all trying as hard as we can, but we're also keeping each other focused on the goal and pushing each other along. So I think that that's critical in both those games.
When you played L5R, I think you played it more, right? Like just in general, like just more nights, more days. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So between like that time period and now, where you've kind of, you know, you've picked up more life, more responsibility. How do you feel about the difference between competing with like this time commitment versus the previous time commitment in that game?
Yeah, I think that a big part of it, and I've gotten better at this as I've gotten older, is just aligning your expectations. And I think more than that, now I don't. We had more time to do stuff before, and so there was more time to like kind of screw around. Not like screwing around, but like you could take things at a tempo where you were like, you know, we're going to play for 10 straight hours. So I've got plenty of time to like take it slow or like, you know, take games off or, you know, whatever. I think more than anything, the time I spend in the game now is more concentrated. I give maximum effort to every game, and I don't, I try not to let myself like relax out of games or like lose focus during games because I just don't get that many of them. But I think a big part of it is expectation alignment. Like if you've been practicing for 25 hours a week, you should have an expectation that's different than if you've been practicing for 5 hours a week. And that's just reality, is that the more you play, the more situations you're going to come into, the more you're going to know how your deck plays in those situations. And so I think that's a big part of it, is that I've gotten better at realizing that I need to keep my expectations appropriate, and that helps you keep your mental state stable during the tournament, which is important.
And so playing through the day, we're talking about your mental state during the tournament. You were running pretty hot. You ran through Swiss undefeated. How was the feeling throughout the day while you were playing through the Swiss rounds?
So it starts to ratchet, you know, as you get further along, right? The further it goes, the more you're like, holy shit, I am just going off today. And so, you know, if you've been to a Bushiroad event, you know, your losses need to be late. Any Swiss tournament, your losses need to be late. Your losses need to be against the right people if you're going to lose. But the further you go, you get to there's an apex point that's like 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, right around that area, where it's like, all I need to do is win one more game and I can sort of relax. And so you have two peaks during the tournament. There's the peak when you know you're going to hit top 8, and you know, like the tension ratchets down dramatically at that point. And then there's another peak when you realize that like you're going to make top 4 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I played round 8 very casually, obviously, because I was already 7-0 and there was no way to miss. But I really felt the tension in round 6. I was playing against Riaz. We had never played competitively before at a tournament. We were playing on stream, which is usually more tense than normal. And he's a 2-time world champion. And even though we've been friends for a very long time, it's hard not to feel the tension of it, because you know that win is like huge. Like it's basically gives you 2 rounds to operate to win one game, if you even need to win one game at that point. If you're 6-0, you're already in the inside track to making top 8. So that was probably the tensest I felt prior to top 4. And then top 4, obviously I felt extremely tense because that's the win and in, you know? And I kind of, in retrospect, I let the tension kind of get to me at that point, and I made some plays in the top 4 match that I don't think I would normally make in a more casual match. But I was able to kind of settle it in the 3rd place match, which was just fortunate.
Yeah. You said the win felt cathartic. And I guess now, you know, in this kind of world where you are now qualified, has it settled in? And how are you feeling just right now as we stand?
I feel really good. At the time, it was, like, I was pretty emotional after the win, and I don't regret that. Like that, it's been a very long road, and I wasn't sure that I would ever get there. The skill of the player base has gone up so much. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if I have it, whatever it is. And yeah, qualifying once is it's a nice thing. Some of the the actual great players of the game have been qualifying, every single year, or whatever. And so I still have a ton of room to operate. But yeah, in this moment right now, I feel like I'm anxious to get underway. Like, we kind of relaxed this week because of the ban list, and we need to know what the meta is going to look like coming out of that. But I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to go, and I feel amped, honestly. There's a number of us going, and we're all feeling it. Like, we're just amped, and a bunch of us, this is our first Worlds. And so, yeah, there's nothing to feel but excitement at this point. Like, it's not just, it's not just Japan, which is awesome. I've been to Japan, but it's been a decade, right? I'm super hyped to go back, but it's also, it's Worlds, it's a chance to be considered the greatest. Yeah, we're not going to become rich. This isn't going to become like a career move or whatever, but like, to be considered the greatest of all players for that year. I mean, yeah, what else could you feel but just absolutely thrilled to be in that position?
And yeah. And so here you are. You said that you felt like there was some you said that you felt like there was some room to grow, in a sense of like, obviously you've been around the whole time, and and you've are friends with some of the people that just keep going. Clinton, Riaz, other just continually Worlds qualifying players. And so, do you think that, given the opportunity, let's say the game goes on for another 10 years, are we, now you can do it, are we shooting for this every year? And if the game ends without another one, are you satisfied?
I think that it's important to your mentality to know that you can. Like, obviously, winning always begets more winning. The confidence that you gain from winning can carry you in times when, like, you're not winning, because there will always be times where you're not winning. But to say now whether I'm going to try every year for the next decade, it's impossible to say. I thought there were some people I thought would play forever, and they've left, and some people that I thought would have already left are still here and grinding. So as long as I feel like I'm enjoying the game, then I think I can keep going. I think it's easy to do if you're happy playing the game, if you're happy and satisfied with the people that are playing the game with you. You have a strong community. They're all focused. It's easier to stay focused. But competitive card games have been a part of my life since I was like 14 or 15. And I just can't say I will. It's hard for me to say if I'll ever be divorced from them completely. Even if Weiss Schwarz died, I would find another card game to play, because that's just something I really enjoy. And it's one of those things where almost all of my significant relationships in my life have come from card games in some form or fashion. I met my wife from card games. Most of my good friends are from card games, and they're some of my longest lasting relationships. And so I owe a lot of my life to card games, and Weiss is just one of them, but it's by far been one of the most important ones to my adult life. My especially my post-married life. L5R kind of died, and I lost contact with a lot of the people that I used to play with, and I kind of regret that. But sometimes that's just how it happens with, if you have friends in a hobby and then you leave the hobby, or the hobby leaves you, then that's it, But I would like to think that a lot of the people that I've become friends with in the Weiss community that will continue to be close for a long time because, you know, we've gone to battle together. We've shared car rides together. We've shared hotels together. You know, we all live close to each other. You know, that's kind of what it's done is like it you know, it brings you closer to your team, you know? So I'm going to keep going. And I think that this win is nice, but you know, would I love to make another one? Sure. Should I expect to make another one? That's a complicated question. I expect to play well, and I try to just play well and let the results handle themselves. If there's anything that I've worked on as I've gotten older is just I try to just let the results handle themselves. And the only thing that I can really handle is making the right plays at the right time. And I think as long as you do that consistently, the results will handle themselves.
And so it goes. Curtains close on position 0, center stage, and back to our regularly scheduled programming. Thank you for the interview.
Absolutely.
It's easy. You're my co-host. But in the future, if we do have guests on, or we have kind of special guests come on, or other kind of scenarios, then we'll probably break out this specific kind of like more one-on-one focus in future. Clinton, if you ever want to come back and have a proper interview, because last time you were kind of more of just like the third member of the podcast for a day, which we did agree on. Yeah. To be fair.
And we had a great time.
If you want to do that, you know where to find us. But closing the curtains on that play, we're going to hop into where we always go. The Spike Corner.
We love the Spike Corner this time of year.
We absolutely love the Spike Corner. And, honestly, just for fun, let's go backwards. We just went to Houston.
Yeah.
You got there.
Yeah.
Jolly days. The top 8 was absolutely buck wild in comparison to, like, you know, kind of some previous expectations. I would say.
It was absolutely lousy with DFW members.
Oh yeah. 5 Dallas players in the top. That's what you like to see.
Yeah, we love to see it. Half the top 4 and 2/3 of the top 8. That's how you defend the home turf.
Except we lost to a New Jersey player.
Yeah, you hate to see it. But
he did. The funniest part is he didn't go to White Plains.
That's wild.
So the Texans took all the invites and the sponsored invite from White Plains. And then one of the New Jersey players comes on down,
snakes it.
Snaps the
grabs the sponsor. That's right.
But yeah, top 8 makeup wise, that guy, absolute gamer, Canada Marine victory.
Yeah, basically 95% of the original deck minus a couple, you know, with a couple things switched around.
Hi Rene.
Yeah, like
Hi Freezer.
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah. Not very many different parts.
Really not.
But proving that if you run hot with level 2 strategies, you can do a lot of work. And this top 8 is kind of running hot with level 2 strategies, the top 8. Where like we have a whole bunch of SAO decks. Finally, SAO putting up some decent results.
2 Alice Curados, an Alice Silica, and 1 unaccounted for.
Yeah.
Aw, man.
I'm not 100% sure what they were playing, but yeah.
I think this is the non-Dallas player that Canada Marine played versus Dallas, right?
I don't recall exactly how the top 8 went down, but
yeah. But we might be able to suss it out later, but we're not sure at this time. They did not submit to Weiss Tea Time. If you listen to this podcast, and you are the unfortunate soul that did not make it further in the top 8 at Houston, and you were playing Sal, we know exactly who you are in the fact that you are not the other 3 Dallas players. So please go to weissteatime.com. Go to the master post for BCS 2023. Scroll down to the bottom. There's a submission form where you can put your deck list in.
Yeah, because we can't have free content unless you do that, so please do that. But also, if you look at the rest of this top 8, we've got another level 2 heavy strategy deck. In the top 4, Konosuba Darkness.
The Dark Horse Darkness.
Yeah, the Win Choice deck, which, if you've never faced this deck before, it relies on a fusion type mechanic, which is kind of similar to the Gurren Lagann fusion mechanic.
Dude, if they don't know Darkness, they're not gonna go no Gurren Lagann.
Well, it relies on markering several characters together into a stack to form like a level 3
character.
right? At level 2. Okay. It's basically a fancy way of early playing. Gives you this very good body that's like on cancel burn 1. And
on both turns.
On both players' turns, correct. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it is the Konosuba special. We've got Fumio, the nastiest Fumio that's ever been printed outside of the original.
Seizure Fumio.
And we have Seizure of Property. So,
which is pretty good in the meta today right now, honestly. On God.
There's a few decks that absolutely hate this card. There's a few decks that, like Alice,
they don't care,
that'll absolutely ignore this card. So, hard to say. Still very obnoxious. Probably the best stock swap ever printed. But yes, a deck that can absolutely ruin you if you can't remove the early play 3, and just spams heals and twin drives the rest of the game. So a very a difficult deck to pilot, I would say. So shout out to the guy who got top 4.
You did win him. You did beat him for your invite. So yeah, shout out to him.
Played the deck very well. Our game was very strange, but yeah, suffice it to say, I think that he did a great job piloting it. So
yeah. If you don't know Seizure, by the by.
Yeah.
How about you just get fucked if you need stock for your finisher? A 2/3 counter event. Put all of your opponent's stock into the opponent's waiting room, and at the end of the turn, your opponent puts the same number of cards from the top of his deck back into the stock.
Yeah. So if your finisher requires any sort of stock resources, it's doomed. And it also can refresh the stock in a very awkward timing, where if you try to like go back with climaxes and you leave one in the deck, then like you have to refill it blind basically. So Seizure of Property is Seizure of Private Property is one of the OG awful mechanics to deal with. So yeah, not ideal. Also, he was playing an event called Lurk Skill that I'd never seen before. Really fantastic.
Actually, quite good.
Yeah, really fantastic event to guard your 3/2 with. Makes it hexproof and a bunch of power.
And the card goes to the bottom of the deck.
Yeah.
It is only till the end of that turn.
Right.
But like you can't have hexproof on their turn.
Fights anti-early really well.
Oh yeah, disgustingly well. It's a free event. It's a free 2/0
free
event.
2/0 event. Mm-hmm. Very, very good card. It's kind of like the Demonic Sword Graham of this deck, where you're just like, this will let me get past any sort of nonsense and get over on you. So, yeah, very well built. And then we have an Avatar finish in top 8. So we're talking about Bar Standby. So this is a
similar concept to Steve from Toronto.
Yes,
right?
This is an iteration on that. Basically similar ideas, slightly different build, but yeah, very level 2 centric top 8. Level 2's OP right now.
Level 2's kind of schnasty, kind of good. We finally did it, Steve.
Yep.
It finally happened.
Yep.
Asakura flipped all of the coins to heads.
Yeah.
And won one regional this season. It finally fucking did it in Kaiserslautern, Germany.
Yeah, so now it's equal to Azuki Choco, I think, in terms of wins.
Yeah.
So, yeah, high variance deck finally manages to push one over the line by winning, like, I don't know, 9 or 10 coin flips in a row. Very, not surprised to see it win. Not surprised at all.
Oh, no. We fear it for a reason.
Yeah, it's the type of deck that when it's running hot, good gravy, get out of the way. But, the rest of this top 8 looks pretty much like we figured it might. Except there's an AOT deck here.
Yeah.
Props to whoever just jammed that right into the meta. It's the standard climax configuration with door choice. So that's the door Mikasa and then choice level 3 finisher. All the usual suspects in this build. Very much heavily dependent on cashing out at the level 2 to get the early play Aaron and the Armin on board and oppress your opponent until you can reach a point where you might be able to win with your choice finisher. So lots of builds very similar to this sort of one from last year, but kind of notable 4 of the 1-1 gear, which is probably not the typical configuration for that card. I think previous builds you'd seen some of the 1-0 gear also.
See, I think it's just like, it's an adaptation that makes sense. It's running 4 of this 1-1 gear, 4 of this JC?
Yeah.
Yeah, JC. This one also has some deck speed, incidental. Why not? And 4 of the...
Oh, that's a pitch to salvage X.
Yeah. And it also scries.
Yeah.
So, there's that. There's a lot of hand fixing and there's a lot of bounce back.
Yeah.
So that we can just loop Mikasa.
Yeah, it also lets you spam the early play healer for a lot of value. It also lets you... I
didn't know they had a 2-slayer.
Yeah, it's a pretty garden variety 2-slayer.
Where did it come from?
It's from set 3.
No, like it's a promo. I don't remember.
Oh, it's one of those. It's one of the box promos.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to rejam here with your JC, which is kind of nice. Obviously, rejamming your combo and rejamming your healer is probably the prime 2 ways to use it. But yeah, suffice it to say, very, very good finish for the deck. Very well played.
And if you thought that, man, only 1 slime in Houston? That's crazy. Did it fall off at all? No! It got 4 in the Germany top 8 the same day!
Yeah, and
this was an 87-player event. Like, sometimes some of the players here like to joke that the EU events can be, like, light on play. This was a full, like, 87-player good-sized event.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, I mean, this isn't memeing. It's just like... And we get a little spiciness here. We get standby Nguyen.
I missed that one.
Where we're running the level 1 standby combo into the Nguyen. So a different sort of approach that gives you like a more varied top end, but overall a lot of the usual suspects here. We're just like, instead of getting value from Shizu, we're getting value from twin driving.
And
building
$6 million.
Yeah, just building
cash.
Just building a ton of cash, just an absolute ton of cash.
Yeah.
So
and we can stand by the 2-1 Shuna for fun.
Yeah, and or whatever else we get, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a fine way to play that. It definitely, I think, loses some of the damage advantage that it has in its 8 pants setups, but you do get.
I mean, you do
get a metric ton of money. So there is that.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, pretty much all the suspects that you'd think you'd see.
Yeah, we're not running the red Ricky. Instead, we're just running the yellow Ricky, and also 3K center runner. That when you cancel damage, it goes into stock. So if you thought that there wasn't enough money, hear me out, Steve.
Yeah.
More money.
Sometimes we can get a little more. Also, 3,500 beater.
3K beater.
3K beater, excuse me. Yeah. Very...
Not bad.
No, reasonable. Yeah.
Yep. I guess it is slightly surprising that we're not digging, because there's no events. You could theoretically run the red Ricky, but it's probably color configuration with our red 1 combo.
Yeah, we're a bit short on yellow cards in this build. So I see 3 Rimuru Tempest. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, Overlord got another top 8.
Yeah, I mean,
it made it in. We did it, lads. And Chloe Marine the the Hololive build that's like, I would say it's probably like the most standard, one of the most standard feeling decks in format right now. Besides the fact that you have like the resonate kind of interactions, you're just kind of like, here's my 1 combo.
Here's my level 2 that beats up your board, and then here's my level 3s.
Yep.
Yeah, very much a garden variety build that is playing the fairest Weiss imaginable.
But it turns out, you know, if you forgot, 6 packets can still kill you.
Yes. Yes, 6 packets can still just kill you. And so...
don't ever forget.
Yeah, it's hard to make 8 door not good. So, yeah, very reasonable.
Straightforward. Going back a little bit, Bilbao, in Spain, a 50-person event. Hello, Slime. Slime wins. Bar Standby gets 3rd. I don't know why I'm going this order. Stoxel Escanor in 2nd. There's actually 2 Atla decks, both Bar Standby. A Yukina Kasumi Bang Dream, a Choice Band's Dao, and a 2nd Shizu Muron list. And finally, the 4th place was Sal.
Yeah, so
that was all over the place. I apologize.
Yeah, you went in every direction but straight.
Yeah.
So Yukina Kasumi is pretty reasonable. This is 8 door. In the specter of this much level 2 play, playing the Yukina, it feels very ambitious. Especially given that he was only running one of the card that brings it back to the board and gives it like a metric ton of power. Yeah.
Interesting.
So maybe the goal is hitting level 1 first and then just, you know, getting it, right? Mm-hmm. Also only running 1 Buns for Luck. This guy must just have the best possible, like, his luck must just be god tier. I don't know how else to explain it. But, this build is pretty... Bang Dream builds are always all over the place. Like, there's a million good cards, and we would never... Like, you could be fine choosing a lot of them. So, this list seems very reasonable. It's got all the level 2 suspects and 3 suspects that you think there'd be. The level 0 game's got a lot of different directions it's going in with a lot of one-offs. But overall, I think the game plan is solid. Again, 8 door, can never go too wrong.
And the Dao player, we got same choice combo, and they looked at Chainsaw Man incoming, and they were like, can I have that now? And the answer is they could have that now. It's an Icy Tail, burn 1 X times equal to the number of climaxes that you mill. You don't get to scry the bottom of your opponent's deck, but, you know, it's a lot of burn 1s if you can mill a whole lot. And we have 4 fucking basic realizers if you just wanted to make sure you were alive.
Yeah, so this is a good combination of effects in my opinion, because we have a very, very, very cost reasonable finisher paired with the basic realizer, which is by far one of the best cards at keeping the game going. So the realizer works against hexproof, which is very useful in the current meta. So good news there. We get Shido, which of course we love, and we can kind of force ourselves to deal a little more damage with the green Shido. The rest of the deck is a lot of the usual suspects that you'd anticipate. They are running the cool Yoshino 2-1 for some deck speed. That's not a very common ad, I would say, but given the nature of how this is playing, it's not totally unanticipated. The blue Origami Zero that ditches 2 to search 2, I feel like that's going to be in every Dal deck forever, because there's just no better way to set up your level 1 combo than that, and it just yields unbelievable amounts of cards.
Yeah,
so.
It feels... Turns out, if you can turn 2 cards you don't want
into 2 cards you do want
for 1 stock,
seems like a win.
And we're going to speedrun the rest of this a little bit, coming up a little bit on time. And while we've let our last 2 episodes be absolute bangers, we can, you know, we like to keep it concise, at least a little bit. We're not trying to we're not trying to let you drag on for 3 hours and just like sit here, listen to us drone on. This card does this effect, and this card does this effect, and this card does this effect. Yeah, it's okay.
The cards will be on the screen.
They'll be on the screen, and also
in your heart.
You can read them.
Or Google them, or whatever.
Just go to Weiss Tea Time. That's what we're looking at. Speedrunning the rest of the events a little bit. Chloe Marine Laplace wins Richmond with top 8 makeup of also Aski Polka, 8 standby Atla, Alice Kirito, Overlord, 1 Slime, a second Alice with second Alice Kirito, and another AOT.
Yeah,
your choice, man.
It's right there on the edge of the meta.
It's right there.
And it's definitely workable.
It is workable. In the Netherlands, shout out to Jessica Snyder, the Yuki Sinon player that everyone knows and will always remember, because in the year of our Lord, 2023, one player from Dallas went to the Netherlands and left with an Ori Ferretta mat.
Yeah. This deck list is absolutely wild if you haven't been facing it.
She went there, and she took the shroot waffles and took the top 8 mat and went home.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, this deck looks like a fever dream if you're not used to facing it. But we've been hard fighting this deck for the last few months, so
we understand.
We know exactly what's going on here.
We know that we can die to 4 4s.
Burn 4s can kill you.
They can kill you. And exactly 4 people or 5 people, I think, in the Netherlands learned that burn 4s can kill you.
Yes.
Yeah. And finally, Sydney, Australia. Finally, Sydney, Australia. So much more so.
SAO has always done well in Australia, and
also counterpoint. We don't know off the top of our heads the set restrictions for some of these locations. So if that influences it a little bit. We're kind of speeding through. There's too much. We got a ban list to talk about next week.
There's
a lot to go through.
Yeah, I mean, SAO, has traditionally done well in that region, and so I'm not surprised to see it there.
The Gruzaya player gaming.
Gruzaya is one of those decks that, like, if nobody's running hot, that deck will beat you every time, because it's got a very high floor, but the ceiling just feels like it is very low.
At least one person was running hot.
Yeah,
because it did drop out in quarters.
And so, like, burning 1 or stock swapping as your finisher is not very sexy in a 2023 Weiss, but compressing into Oblivion does in fact yield success if you can manage to do it. So that
kind of the Suisse is funny.
That's a deck and a half, man. That's like seeing that level 2 strategies are good and being like, let's have 2 of them.
Why not both?
Let's run every level 2 strategy this set has and see what happens.
I mean, realistically, it's just like it doesn't even play that many of like the early play Suisse. It's just instead of Marine, Suisse, because Suisse can flicker, sure. Right?
Yeah, I'm here to tell you though, I'm happy about seeing this build because it justifies a belief that I've had where that Ina is just categorically better than Miko at every point in the game. And I am glad to see somebody finally do that.
The 1-0 Ina, for clarification.
Yes, the 1-0 Ina in the context of a Kaneda build. Because a Kaneda build is usually inting level 1. They'll put down this clock on core guy that's like a guy that's going to occupy the board until I'm level 2.
It's red so that I can level it instead of Marine. Yeah.
Right. But obviously this deck has blue cards to level. But yeah, this Ina just feels better probably at every point in the game. So yeah, I think that's the right adaptation.
And that is it for the Spy Corner today. Steve, do you hear that?
Oh yeah, it's very familiar sounding. Yeah. Like I've heard it before.
We've heard it, a few times in the last month.
Yeah.
Alongside that, it's the sound of my wallet crying because it's the whale sighting. And Guilty Gear Strive reveals already started. So the funny thing is, one of our locals asked us to ask Bushiroad if we could do card reveals, because just for fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I don't think they would let us, but we can ask. And like, right when I'm about to send out the tweet for fun to ask Bushiroad, the first round gets revealed. And it's like all the biggest Weiss creators. I'm like, okay, but like, we're not. I'm not Avis. Like, we're not Tresses Collectibles over here or anything. Like,
yeah. While I definitely appreciate the passion of our fan base, I'm also aware that it is not the biggest. However, we still deserve reveals. So,
yeah, if you
Bushi, consider us for the next round. Come on.
Yeah. For the third round, should it exist, smile, because the second round is ongoing as we speak. In 2 hours from this time of recording, and you'll see some of it by the time this episode gets uploaded. But we did get the first round, which was very interesting. And so we didn't get May cards yet, and so this whale signing will be a bit short.
You're safe for at least another moment.
I'm safe for just a tad, just a little bit. But,
yeah.
Dude, I want Testament to work. I desperately want Testament to work. It is so funny.
So we've seen a few of the high rarity cards already get spoiled, and in their high rarity forms, and they're looking very nice, very clean.
See, that's the interesting thing is, like, all the SPs so far, they look like kind of like, I guess the best way to describe it is like on their website, on the Guilty Gear website. There's like, whenever you pull up a character, I feel like it looks kind of like this. Maybe I'm full trolling. Maybe they've changed it by now or something.
Yeah.
Because there isn't any hot stamps that are currently visible in the spoiler. And so all of the SPs right now, which is really interesting. I'm highly curious what the foiling will actually look like. Because otherwise, all of the SPs look like they're just kind of like gold bordered foiled cards. Which to some, many whales especially, would probably be a disappointment. Especially after KOF released in JP with hot stamped special attacks.
Yeah, it's hard to say at this point what they're gonna look like in their final state. But I think we've had this happen before where we just, if there's not a signature to put, then you just kind of get like a...
Which is really interesting to me because there are voice actors, obviously, for all of the characters. They exist in all languages, or like a lot of the major languages. Sorry, not to let my lingua franca kind of like pull through, but like there are voice actors that could have been pulled for signatures
for sure,
and they are pulling in Daisuke as a signature for the secret, which will probably either be revealed as like the last creator card or just like right before set release, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you go to the website and you look, then it says special rare cards with a unique hot stamp in gold. So maybe we're missing the unique hot stamp and they just haven't revealed it yet.
Yeah, which would be interesting.
And then we also have to remember that there are OFRs in this set.
Yeah, there are also OFRs. We do theoretically know all of the characters that will be on the OFRs because they're all Hungry Clicker arts.
Yeah.
All of which have been revealed because in the original kind of video announcement trailers, there was Sol and Kai. And then in an Evo ad, they used May and Ram as as Hungry Clicker arts in that ad. And in the reveals, that Ram art was used in an OFR for the Brainstormer.
Right.
So there's like, I put it at like a 70%, 80% that May is the final OFR that needs to be revealed because there's only 4. There are 19 SPs, and Ramlethal does have an SP, which confirms that all of the OFR characters will probably also have SPs. And 19 fits with the base roster plus the first season of characters, which...
Right.
But the interesting of note is that Asuka is not part of that roster.
No.
Asuka was in the plot, which is probably also why he's on some of these cards.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the art seems to be pulled from kind of like the movie that they put together.
Yeah.
Both the both the Another Story extra movie and the original movie, which is what the Eno like finisher is based off of. So there's a mix of like game mechanic specials informing card design and like game movie events informing card design. And so it might not be doomed for the Bridget Brigade yet, but that would imply that they pulled game footage from characters that were not released until basically last year or even this year. All of the Asuka cards, let me double check here. I'm pretty sure all of the Asuka cards are like...
They're from the TD.
They're just from the movie. Yeah. Like the art.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that anything that was, super duper recent, in terms of timeline, you're probably gonna have difficulty.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because they did make an Asuka Gearmaker trial deck card.
Yeah.
And this card is based on like his movie appearance.
Right.
And he was like a very late character that was added to the game as well.
Yeah, so it's impossible to say.
Impossible to really say, but there are signs pointing to like SPs for base roster plus the first 5.
Right. So I think that's fine. Leaves us room for Guilty Gear Set 2. But yeah, I think
please. If the Bridget Brigade doesn't win on set 1 and they don't release a set 2, I think we just lose fans.
Yeah.
There was a popularity survey that Arxis ran of like the Guilty Gear population, and the most popular character in North America is Bridget.
That's insane.
Yes.
But also not that surprising.
Also, yes.
It's just a very well liked character, and kind of was in JP as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have mixed feelings about some of these characters because they've been in so many games. Like I can't like Eno.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
Yeah.
Like it's not in me.
Yeah.
Because the SNK boss syndrome that character inflicted in the original Guilty Gear is not trivial.
Yeah.
But
valid.
But yeah, I think
shout out to Heavenly Potemkin Buster for being probably that's probably one of the most like flavorful and also like kind of good combos that has been revealed so far. In that, if you don't top deck a climax, eat this bird for bot.
I think that this will be one of those decks that will be difficult to max just because of the pure quantity, but it might be easier to max just because it's possible that the individual cards themselves will never spike off in a way that some other sets have, particularly if they don't include any notable voice actors or anything like that.
Yeah.
Then, you're probably...
I think the Daisuke's secret will spike into oblivion.
Sure.
And, like, everything else kind of middling. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm guessing, $300 is just, like, the cost of doing business nowadays, right?
Yeah.
In terms of SP costs.
Yeah.
Like, if you're less than that, you're more than happy to take it, and if you're more than that...
OFRs, I feel like... OFRs of unpopular or less meta-relevant characters have also dipped. This RAM OFR is going to the moon.
What I'll say is that after getting all the OFRs for Alicization, I was very happy that I got them early because they became kind of extinct really quickly. And I think that OFRs are where you can really run into trouble if you decide to hold off on your max rarity buy.
Yeah,
because
I picked up a lot of OFR Elmas early from Kobayashi because they were like $40. That was so sick.
Yeah, like if I wanted to get OFR Mother's Rosario choices nowadays, even though they're not meta, it's frustrating to even locate them. So yeah, I think OFRs are where you can get in trouble. So not to unduly influence the market for the 100 or so people that are going to hear this, but yeah, buy your OFRs early. That's all I'm saying.
I am unironically attempting to budget $2,000 before the release of Guilty Gear.
That's not going to get you very far.
I mean, I need, okay, 4 Maya OFRs.
You have no idea what you'll need. That's the worst part.
4 Maya speeds.
See this Eno that's a Ricky? Yeah, it's an SP.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about other characters besides May,
Oh, okay.
Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not actually going for max rarity.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Just making sure I was right.
Baby steps. Baby steps, Steve. We
Everybody-
start with the Dolphins, and then we branch out.
Everybody has their first max rarity deck. It's just a matter of when.
I have max rarity Dragon Maid
Oh, do you?
for Elma.
Nice.
we got that going.
Yeah.
In both languages. Because I maxed it in JP before the English announcement.
Max rarity meta hits a little different.
I
so
know.
I'm kind of low key hoping that
This max rarity My Hero deck is gonna kill me. Like in 6 months, I'll be like wrapping up Guilty Gear. I'll like look at TCG Player. The Rickies won't exist anymore. Most of the standby SP, there is 1 copy at 401 Games Canada, and I'm not gonna even attempt to buy it until next year. And if that disappears, then I will own one of the only copies that I can prove exists in this world because I cracked it in my case.
Yeah, the life of a niche whale is a difficult one.
Nobody opened Real Live.
No.
It's so cursed.
No, yeah.
But that's going to be it today for this episode of The Refresh Point. Next week, and we're coming back next week. We're actually coming hot. We're giving you no time to rest. You better listen to this now, and you better listen to the next one when it comes in a week, because we're going to talk about the ban list. It's coming in hot.
Yeah, that'll be the best Spike Corner in a while. We'll get the fresh reacts of what we think the meta is going to look like, and I will give you my own personal thoughts on what I think you should play going into this meta.
I'm going to build an ambitious deck.
We love ambitious deck building.
I don't know what it is yet, but it will come. And so, that's our show for today. Tune in next time after your next deck out, and don't you forget to take the refresh point.